What's up? This is Hoodie Ninja, and today I bring you the highly requested and long-awaited EOF tutorial for drum charting. This tutorial is going to cover how to download EOF, apply the latest hotfix, tweak a couple of settings, and start charting out your first track. Keep in mind, you don't even need to know how to play the drums to do this. As long as you can hear and differentiate the different sounds of a drum kit, even if it's just one hit at a time, you can chart out a song. The mix of the track can definitely make it more complicated and difficult, but with experience that becomes easier. So let's go ahead and get started. What you're going to need is Editor on Fire, which we can download here from ignition.customsforge.com/EOF, and I'll put a link to that in the description. So you'll click this latest download button, and it's going to download a text file with a link. Open up the text file, copy the link, paste it into your browser, and it'll download the latest version of EOF. And then right below this, click on latest hotfix. And those are going to have some files that will drag into the EOF folder to replace the this 1.8 version with the latest hotfix, so you get all the latest features. So here we are at the files that we downloaded. I've got the two folders here. This is the main EOF latest version, and this is the hotfix. So all you're going to want to do is go into the hotfix, select everything, and hit Control X to cut. Go back to the main EOF folder, Control V to paste, and then you just want to click Replace the files in the destination. There you go, you got the latest EOF files in here now, and we're ready to start charting. Alright, if you open up the EOF file, you'll see that we're not quite ready to start charting. You'll get this error message. You can go ahead and click Don't Warn Again. Shouldn't make a difference as long as you're just making charts for phase shift. So before we really start doing anything, let's make a quick couple quality of life changes. We're going to go to File, Display, Display, and then we're going to set a custom resolution. I like to use 1600 by 768. So this is the resolution that works best for me. It's going to look a little weird in this video. It's going to be stretched out to fit the 1080p resolution of the video. But go ahead and tweak this and get something that feels right for you. You can wait till we jump into the actual charting first so you can get an idea of what the grid looks like and go from there. But next we're going to go to Preferences, and then Preferences. And the only thing that we're going to do here is uncheck this box that says EOF leaving focus stops playback, and hit OK. And you can leave that checked if you want. The only thing it does is, like it says, if you click off of the EOF window while it's playing the song, it's going to stop it. I uncheck that because I sometimes will use like a tap BPM program, which I'll show you guys in a bit, to get the BPM of a song if EOF can't figure it out for me. So the next thing we need to do is load up our track. And to do that, you just go to File, click New, and then find your audio file. And then it's going to ask you for the artist and the title. So you would put whatever that is. I'm just going to put Artist Hoodie Ninja, and the title is going to be Drum Chart Tutorial. Okay. You can do whatever you want here. I usually just leave it as Create New Folder, and then it's going to put it in my EOF folder. And then for encoder quality, it's really just up to your preference. I usually go with 160. And then here we are, we're presented with the grid. And there's a few things we're going to need to change here before we can actually get into any drum charting. So first of all, we're going to need to go to Song, Track, and switch it to Part Real Drums Phase Shift. And so now we're editing the drums part of the track instead of the guitars or something else. One thing just to check, if you've used EOF before and had problems, I'm just going to point this out because I had this issue. I had under Track and then Phase Shift, enable 5-lane drums. If that's enabled, it's not going to work right. I don't remember exactly what it does. I think it doesn't allow you to set one of the cymbals like the blue lane or something like that. But you're going to want to make sure that is unchecked. It should be by default, but I've seen a couple people with that issue before. And when it happened to me, I had no idea why it wasn't working, so I had to go ask So Damn Lazy, shout out to him. And I went in his comments and just asked what the hell was going on. And he's like, yeah, you should check and see if this setting is enabled. And it was. Turned it off, and that fixed it. So thank you to him. Anyways, if that is turned off, you are all good. You can check up here. This is where you'd set your difficulties if you wanted to make easy, medium, hard, or expert. I always just do the track as it's played, and I set it on expert. Next up, we are going to set the zoom and grid settings. I usually set it to 1/3. That works best for me. You could try more or less and see what works best for you. Then we're going to go back into edit and grid snap. We'll just set it at 16th notes for now, and then go ahead and push Shift plus G, and that's going to turn on the grid lines. I usually leave these on all the time, so sometimes I guess if there's some really weird timing in the song, then I'll turn them off and just place the notes without the grid snap, but that is very rare for me to do that. Next up is going to be the BPM. We're going to go up to beat, BPM, and estimate BPM. I'm getting 89, which I know is not right, because the song we're doing here is a song that I made, and I know it's not 89 BPM, but I think the reason it is coming up wrong on there is because there's a couple of BPM changes throughout the song. So with a normal song that stays on the same BPM, that estimate BPM feature is always pretty accurate. You might get a number like 149.944914, something like that, and that would mean that it's 145. Just round up to the closest number. So in cases where the BPM estimator is wrong, there's a couple ways you can go about figuring out the BPM. The easiest way I found is by using this website called all8.com, and then under tools, BPM. It's just a little program they have here where you can push your spacebar, or I think you can push any key, and you just tap along to the beat of the song and it'll get the BPM for you, as long as your tapping is correct. So let's go ahead and see how this works. Got my song here playing. It's a little loud, so we're going to turn that down just a bit. See how that sounds. Still a little loud, turn down a bit. But anyways, let's get on with this. So you could go off of that. I'm going to go to a little bit easier part of the song to get it. I know there is a 4 on the floor here. Okay, so I'm going to tap along to those kicks there. I'm going to go ahead and hit play. Alright, so I got 177. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. It might be 178. But we're going to go with this, and we can always tweak it later. Go up to beat, BPM, and BPM change. We're going to go 178. One last thing before we start charting out the drums. I like to go in and I think it's under song and then leading silence. This will just create some silence before the start of the track. I think I've got like 2 seconds in there already, but I like to put in at least like 5 seconds just in case you've got to start the track and then go get situated on your drum kit before you start playing. So that gives you about 3 seconds for when you start the song, plus another 5 seconds of silence. So I'm going to add 8 beats, and I think that should be enough, about 3 seconds at this BPM. You could do milliseconds, or you could add more beats if you want, whatever works for the track. So yeah, that's going to give me almost 3 seconds, and the song is going to start probably right around 5 or 6. Yeah. So what we can do is pull this. Oops. Pull this, but you want to stay in the gray area up here, otherwise it'll screw up like you just saw. I'll start straight there, and we just want to get this at the start of the song. And an easy way to do this is with a short key, Control Space, and that is going to slow it down to 50%. Right about there. Right there should be perfect. So again, that's control space. You're going to want to remember that because it's super useful. Another one is control shift space. And this is going to play at an even slower speed. I think it's 0.25. So really useful for finding out or figuring out some of the more fast drum fills or more complex drum fills. Yeah, now we are pretty much ready to go. Let's just go over the short keys quick that you're going to be using, other than the ones to slow down the song. So if you hit just space, it's going to play the song. And then, like I said, control space is 50%, control shift space 25%. Really useful to know, so you don't have to go up into these menus. I'm not even going to show you where they are in these menus because it's just a bad habit to use that. You'll want to get used to the short keys. The other ones are going to be to switch toms to cymbals. So if you place a yellow tom and you push Control Y while it's selected, it's going to turn it to the yellow crash symbol. Same with the blue. Control B turns it to the blue crash. Control G turns the green one to the green crash, even though it is pink on here. That is your green crash. And same with the tom. It's a pink tom, but it's a green tom in the game. So you can cycle back and forth or remove them. It works like that. Yellow one is special because that's also your hi-hat. So if you place a yellow tom and hold Shift S, that's going to make the closed hi-hat. Shift O is going to make the open hi-hat. And then Shift P is the pedal. The other one is going to be on your snare to do the accents. So this is your standard snare. Shift R turns it to the accented note. It depends on how you want to do it. I usually will use this just for like ghost notes and fills. And if there are no ghost notes or fills in a section, I'll just use the regular snare for the snare. If there's just a lot of ghost notes in a song, I will use the accented one as my regular snare shots for every single snare shot. And then any accented ones will just be the regular one. Which sounds a little backwards the way I'm saying it, but if you've ever seen any of my drum charts, you kind of know what I'm talking about. So let's go ahead and get started with the drum charting. I'm just gonna go at it, and I'll add some comments as I go to explain what I'm doing. But the best way to do it is just jump into it. So let's get started. Again, this is a song that I made, so I'm kind of familiar with the drums, but it really shouldn't make a difference. You can still see how I'm adding everything in and how I'm piecing it all together. So let's do this. Kind of listen to the part a little bit and just get a feel for it. Just one crash. And those are hits on the floor toms. And then make sure you're listening to the cymbals. So you can tell that that's like a fast crash and then a china, so they're going to be different. I usually do like the fast crash or whatever crash you're hitting on the one is going to be my yellow. I try to not use it for like 4 yellows in a row if I can help it. Sometimes it's just a little confusing trying to add all the cymbals on a kit into a song. If somebody's got like 2 crashes, a crash ride, a china, 2 splash cymbals, you kind of have to mess with it and make sure that everything is accessible from the previous hit. I'm not sure of any good examples off the top of my head, but maybe we'll run into some here. But I know some of my earlier charts are just kind of hard to play because I'll have the yellow symbol when it should be the green. So try to keep that in mind. So I can already tell that that part repeats. So I'm just going to click this note, hold shift, click this note to copy the whole section. Control C to copy it. And then if I right click on this BPM anchor up here, I'll hit Control V, and it's gonna paste in everything from that I just copied. That's pretty much the same, but I think, yeah, there is definitely a kick in this part that wasn't in the other part. Like I said, this is my song, but I made it a while ago, and I still haven't even finished it, so I don't remember exactly what the drums are, but there's definitely a kick there added in. Copy that again. China hitting there. No kick in there, but there was a kick right here, and then that's a flam. And so the way we do flams is change the grid snap up here, edit grid snap to 30-second notes, and then 2 quick snare hits is a flam, so that's what we put here. So that is right. We'll switch the grid snap back to 16. Depending on the BPM, sometimes you're going to want to use 64th notes just to make it look a little nicer. Like if we were at 100 BPM, a 30-second note would be something that you play in a fill usually, so the snare hits would be quicker. You'd want to do 64th. Now copy this over. Actually, we'll do this one because it probably has the kicks on the toms. Or it doesn't at all. Simples. So I do that a lot. I'll try to kind of predict what's coming next, even if I haven't listened to that section. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. This is just the cymbal pattern repeated. It's 2 on the China. That is a flam. Alright, and now we've got kicks on all these. One thing I'll note here, I guess real quick, that I didn't do, that I don't usually do, you can go up to a time signature and set it. I don't know what I just did to my song there, I'll undo that. Go here, time signature, I'll set it to 4/4 because that's what it is. It can be helpful, I don't usually use it, but you can see it's got the measures marked up here, if that's the right term. So these are kicks. We're going to put toms on these hits. It just alternates. Copy it. That's another flam. Yep. It's a bit of a tighter flam than the other one I used. I think that's a different symbol too. Yep, so we'll use the blue because it's not the China, it's not the other crash we're using. We'll go with the blue and then it'll be the yellow. And so that's kind of the last pattern, but sped up. Okay, now we've got a little snare roll fill. So this is where we'll use our accents, because you can tell the first hit on each one of these 4-note patterns is the stronger hit, and the rest are ghosts. I'm sure there's a technical term for that fill, it's pretty common, but I don't know what it would be. But it's going to look like this on EOF, and I can copy that a couple times. One other thing I'm doing here, notice when I paste this in, you get these red lines kind of saying that it's not perfectly matched up with the grid. That's just kind of a bug with EOF. If you hold Control, Shift, and R, it'll align them all to the grid. Snaps them to the closest marker, so if it's really bad, that's not going to work. Or if you're trying to, I don't know, paste in a weird section from somewhere else, it might not always work. If there's like triplets or something, that can always get screwed up if you're pasting them in with the grid on 16ths. So just keep an eye out for that. I don't think we have any triplets in this song, but If we were to have triplets, you would just change the grid snap to the triplet sections over here. Like, I don't think we'd go up to 24s unless you're playing deathcore or something. Those are all full snare hits. I think there's an extra kick in there too, and this little tom fill. Alright. That is the intro section. We can go back and see what it looks like. Alright, looks pretty good. I think some of the toms might have been wrong. I don't know if they're all just the two, the blue and the green, but it's fine for now. Okay, if you listen to that section, you can tell it's just hi-hat open on the quarter notes. And the snare is on the 3, 2, 3. And that's probably going to play out for a while here. Let's just see. Yep. This cymbal hitting there. But we can pretty much just copy this so we don't have to do it again. Make sure you get rid of that crash cymbal because that's it's on the hi-hat there. And now we'll just add in the kick pattern and we're pretty much done with the section. Oops, never mind, I wasn't listening, right? It's on the 2 and the 4. So we'll just switch these. My bad. Do that again. So I can do this pretty easily at this BPM. There's not a ton of notes. If you're struggling to do that, use the control space. Just like that. If you're really struggling, do the control shift space, but you'll get the hang of it pretty quick, especially if you do know what you're doing on a kit, and this becomes a little bit easier. Okay, I'm assuming that that section pretty much repeats, and that was a crash there. Okay, the difference is going to be crashes there. Let's go ahead and add 2 crashes. I don't know, I think I did a whole lot of just single crashes, even in spots where I probably could have done 2 crashes, made it sound a little more full. So I'm just going to add them into the chart. Okay, same thing here. We're going to do this cymbal hit on the quarter notes. The snare is all over the place, so we'll just leave those cymbals like that. Let's see. Could have copied over the symbols, but I can do this pretty quick, so I don't know if it really saves me any time. Right, a little intermission there so my dog will stop barking, and let's get on with it. So I'm pretty sure this part resets too. For the 3 kicks. So we're just gonna copy and paste that in, hit Control Shift R, and align it to the grid. Got an open hi-hat here. It should not be there. Okay, and now it switches up. Snare kick, snare kick, snare kick. 2 kicks here. That pattern pretty much repeats itself, I think. I assume. Yep. So 4/16ths on the kick there. Okay, that probably mostly repeats again. Okay, cuts a little short. Snare and the floor tom. Okay, now back into that section after the intro, which is probably pretty similar, so we're going to copy the whole thing over. And yeah, even though this is my song, this is still pretty much what I would do if I was charting like a different song. I pretty much always kind of copy over a section as soon as I hear that it sounds similar. I'll just go ahead and copy the whole thing over, and if I need to tweak things, and if it's way different, I'll just delete it and start over. Here we go. I'm gonna do that symbol there. Okay, sounds like it repeats again. We'll just paste it in. It's already saved in the clipboard. Okay, we got a fill there instead. Classic simple fill. So we'll go with the yellow symbol there, even though it's kind of far from the green tom. It's definitely different than the one that we ride, so we'll do that. It should be fine with this BPM. If it was like 200 or higher, it might be a little hard to get all the way back over there, but I think it's fine here. One thing you can do is you just do the blue symbol, and at least it shows that it's a different symbol than the one that you stay on the quarter notes. And it's just that section again. Copy in the whole thing. Paste it here, and just the yellow. Make sure if you copy and paste something in like that has 2 symbols, don't forget about it, because you're not going to be able to hit both these symbols after playing the fill, or at least most people wouldn't be able to. I know I wouldn't be able to. So we're going to go through this section and make sure everything looks right. Alright, made things easy for myself. That's gonna hit there. Okay, so we've got a breakdown section, but you notice that doesn't really start on one of our measures here. Oops. It starts right here in the middle. So let's listen to it a little bit. It's definitely slower So the BPM dropped. There's a few ways to figure out how to do this, but again, I think the easiest way, got my tap BPM counter still pulled up here. Click reset here, and we'll go to where we heard the China on the quarter notes, and we'll just tap along to it. So 155 or 154, one of those two, we'll figure it out. I'm gonna set it on this anchor here, and we're gonna switch it to 155. These settings, I've never used this beat only, but adjust notes is something you want to check if you are adjusting the BPM on a section that has notes on it. I'm not going to get into it on this video, but I might do like a more advanced techniques video, talk about that a little bit more, but I'll just leave it like that for now since there are no notes in there anyways. And I always like to just kind of slow it down and check, make sure everything is lined up right where I am at, even if it was at the start. It's pretty much right on. Drag that up a little bit, maybe it's more like 154. I think that's what it was. Sounds about right. China hits on the quarter notes. Snare on the 5. I don't know. 1, 4, 5. I'm pretty sure this breakdown repeats a lot. It's one of the things I wanted to tweak on this song and have not gotten around to. Okay. Still here. Pretty sure that's what it was. Sounds about right. Got this copied in, so we'll paste it. Just double check, make sure this is lined up. Pretty much. Yep. It's the same fill. Same fill. If I just kind of repeat this over and over again, I think I could probably copy this whole thing, paste it in here. Paste it again. Okay. You can delete all of this. Might just be one tom hit there. We're gonna put the other one in for fun. Okay, now it's going back into the main riff, so we can assume the BPM is gonna go back to what it was. Okay, that is not the same BPM. If I recall, I did make it a little bit faster when you come out of the breakdown, just to change things up a bit. So let's figure out what that was. And instead of tapping it out, I'm going to show you a little bit easier way to do it for slight BPM changes like this. And this will come in handy if you're charting out songs that did not get recorded to a click and that kind of shift up and down in BPM. You'll use this feature a lot, like probably from one section to the next, or from one measure to the next. But let's listen here. Comes in right about here. And so we're just going to click on this anchor here and drag it back. And this is going to adjust this BPM on this anchor to 184.5, and we'll see if that's right. Cymbal hit. Okay. Kind of a cool little fill. Am I doing this right? Yeah. No. I think that's what it is. Oh, that's right. So when I drag this to speed up this one, it doesn't automatically change this, so you gotta manually do that. I'm gonna do 184.5. Alright, and we're back to that section again. Assuming it all repeats. And even though these BPMs are a little bit different, it should still paste in mostly fine. We'll probably just hit the Control-Shift-R to align everything to the grid again, and we'll be good. A little bit further. Oh, quite a bit further. Okay, Control-Shift-R. And just another reminder with that, if you have triplets in the section that you're pasting over and you're on the 16th note grid, if you try to snap them to the grid, it's going to screw everything up. So just want to keep an eye on that. Okay, so that's not right, and that's because that riff plays once without the drums, so there's an extra section in there. We can delete all that and then just drag all this forward. So when you drag notes like this, just make sure you drag them in this box here on the grid. If you go above into the gray, it starts grabbing anchors, screws everything up. I'm gonna undo all that and then select this again. Just drag it down here. Line it to the grid and see what it looks like. Different fill here. Pretty simple. Section repeats itself. Guessing it does the whole thing, so I'm going to go recopy it from here, opposed to using that one. Okay, this is probably 185. I don't know why I was thinking it might actually be 184.5. Just update it back here. And then yeah, we'll get to use the adjust notes, so this will snap everything closer together. There are times where you don't want to do that, but not in this instance. Go up here. Yep, those snare hits seem to be right on, so it should be good. Okay, I don't think the BPM changed at all there, but we did start like a 8th note early, so the Chinas are going to be in the middle of these spots here. Maybe it did change. It was just a little bit slower. Gonna 170. $165. I think that's right. Yep. Couple of these. Those are just kicks, no tom. That looks right. Yeah, hear both the cymbals on there. Should be if it's not. We got quarter notes. Snares on the 3s. Add in the kicks. Take this one a little slow. Okay, we'll have the same cymbal and snare pattern, so we'll copy it over. The kick will be different, I think. Yep. That probably just repeats. Just the China. Another simple fill here. And we're falling behind a little bit. Let's just adjust this. I don't know why. Okay, so that maybe starts just a little bit sooner. That's the problem. Pretty much right there. Yeah, at that point, it doesn't really matter too much, I don't think. Let's just copy this whole section again. Paste it in. Okay, we got both the cymbals there, but definitely switch this to halftime. So we're just going to cut these out. Okay, pretty much the same. Cut out these cymbals. Did I put the kick there? Probably. And put this cymbal in. Couple notes early. Still halftime. Okay, we're at the end of the song. Just gotta add in a few more notes here. Good enough? Can't really tell if I'm putting kicks under these snares or not. I don't really hear it, but I thought I did. But probably just remembering that wrong. Anyways, that is pretty much it. You can go ahead and hit File, Save, and you've got your chart. It'll be in your EOF folder under the artist and title name that you specified, and you can go ahead and drag it into your phase shift charts folder and give it a shot. So that is pretty much it for this tutorial. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, and I will either respond to you or I'm going to make a follow-up video just answering a few questions if there are quite a few. But it's pretty straightforward. If you're having trouble, just rewatch the video, follow along slowly, and you'll get the hang of it. But all right, see you guys in the next drum chart.